Welcome back to Duda Dojo, your source for the latest Duda news, platform how-tos, and product updates. I'm Jessica, and this week I sat down with Haley and Matt from our dev team to discuss why mobile page speed matters. So let's jump right in. Matt and Haley, we are going to talk about mobile page speed and why that has become so important in today's web world. I would love to know, Matt, why do you think it's so critical that people consider how fast their website is on mobile?
Well, I mean, Search Engine Journal says definitively that now more searches are happening on mobile than on desktop. And that's the name of the game, especially in the SEO world. You're trying to get visibility. You're trying to interact with, potential customers and users, and people are clicking on your website and then they're expecting it to load.
Yep. Yeah, I honestly, as a user, so I don't know how you guys are, but I will do a lot of my first interactions via mobile, but then I do shift to desktop. So if there's something that I want to spend more time on or I want to read later, I will send myself the link and then just check it out later.
I am constantly doing that, shifting things into I have a bunch of different apps on my phone, whether it's Teams or Asana or whatever, and I'm dropping the link. I'm copying it from my phone, dropping it in one of those things so that it's at my computer when I get back to it.
I'm constantly doing everything on my phone. And I think that's kind of a generational divide.
What are you saying?
And also with in the age of social media and stuff, you're advertising on social media. People are going to be clicking your links on social media and it's going to be on their phone. No one's browsing Instagram on their website.
That's true.
Yeah, but speed is still the name of the game there. 53% of people, if your page doesn't load fast enough, are gonna bounce. And so 3 seconds is kind of the tipping point. If your page isn't loading within 3 seconds, you have to pay attention to that. You have to make an adjustment for it.
So why do we think that is? I feel like for me, the answer is kind of obvious. The human attention span has decreased, but why do you think it is that page speed is so essential to capture a user's attention?
I think that just the rise of technology in and of itself, it wasn't that long ago, Haley. I know that it seems like it could be archaic, but it wasn't that long ago that technology itself, whether it's device or internet service providers, everything was slower. And as it's become faster and faster, that wait time, that attention span has gotten shorter and shorter and shorter. To the degree that if somebody clicks on something and it doesn't load in 3 seconds, they're like, is this broken? Is there something wrong?
Yes. So it's almost like technology has changed our expectation and now technology needs to keep up with the expectation it created.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Haley, as a designer, what would you say are the most challenging parts for designers or developers who are, creating this beautiful website and desktop? How do you get that to adapt to mobile?
Yeah. I mean, as a designer, you're not really thinking of page speed when you're designing. You're thinking of adding in all these visually appealing elements. And so that is high-res imagery, video, animations, and all of those things can be really data heavy and slow your site down.
Yeah.
It really is. At the end of the day, it's bits that are loading.
Yeah.
And so high-res imagery, videos, like you're saying, man, they make everything look so sexy, but it is you're fighting that tug of war for that abstraction, for how cool is this versus will anybody ever see it if it takes too long to load? So it's really an interesting, we play this game while we're building, trying to make it awesome, visually appealing, but it still has to be functional.
Yeah, you got to find that balance between the two.
So what would you say would be some recommendations from either of you of if you do have a very heavy animated, heavy design desktop version, what would you consider doing for mobile?
I think resizing imagery and trying to bring down the size of the file and compress things will help it speed up the page. But
I know that Duda does a great job
yes, I agree.
Of breaking it down. They create 6 different versions that are actually user agent based. So that's one of the things that we love about Duda is they are so intentional. I mean, it shows in their core web vitals, scores, metrics, but still to your point, it's you can't, it's not best practice to take a 5,000 by 5,000 image, pixel image, and just
Load
throw it in
it as
there
is,
and then let it be whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's still like the DPI ratings and things like that on common devices and common internet viewing. It's like that quality is gonna get lost anyway.
Yeah.
So you're compromising. It doesn't need to be that big. It doesn't need to have that much resolution. But again, where do you find the balance between, I know this image in this spot is only going to be this big on the page.
Right.
Like it doesn't need to be massive when we throw it in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And testing on multiple devices, because some phones may load faster than other phones, and there's so many different devices on the market.
That's true.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of extra work to just make sure it's adapting well to desktop. But speaking of Duda, like you said, they make it easy. So I'm going to go to my screen. And then, so I have on screen here actually just an example site. It's a duplicated site. And so what we're looking at right now is the homepage, but it's in desktop, right? And so we do have some elements on the pages that are moving, could make it a little more weighty, especially like that opening hero. But the cool thing about Duda is I can just simply go over to the mobile device view and I can look at how is this page presenting itself on mobile. So not only am I, having the capability to make actual adjustments. I don't know why you would want to decrease this with here, but let's say I did, I can make those visual adjustments in mobile and it won't make, Duda's built this in a way where it will not make the adjustment on desktop. So it keeps it very mobile siloed. Another opportunity here is for this particular element. Now, in this case, if I were to make an adjustment here, it would kind of play, let's say I were to change out this animated version with just an image, it would make that change across these devices.
Kind of the difference between like changing the element itself, like replacing that element versus just modifying it in the mobile view.
Yes. But back to this, if we did want to modify this, I could actually hide this section on mobile.
Right.
And then I can open up a new section and I could build like a custom image if I wanted to reduce some of the potential page weight of this on
And
on
in
mobile.
that way, you can also, so again, Duda does a great job with responsive environment. It really is complex. And even just working with clients and having them in different browsers and different screen layouts, I'm somewhat regularly getting screenshots from people being like, oh, well, this is cut off. And I'm like, that's screen size. Like what you're showing me there, like nobody's got a screen size that's that big. Like you've just kind of manipulated your window. So it's always part of the conversation, but being able to, we've taken sites that like, okay, we liked some of the things that Duda did when it shifted to mobile, but not a lot of them. So we've kind of created a completely different experience by what you're talking about, hiding some of the sections that are there from desktop and then basically relaying out the mobile layout
structure. Yeah. I'd say the only challenge with that, and that I've advised customers in the past, is that if you create a custom section,
you gotta remember this.
You got to revise that section on both desktop and mobile. There's a client in particular that I'm thinking of. Initially, they wanted everything intact, from the way it appeared on desktop to how it adapted to mobile. Well, now they're realizing, wow, these mobile, it's still loading very fast because it's Duda, but the page scroll is quite excessive. So we've been assessing like, how can we customize these mobile pages while keeping in mind, hey, y'all, when you're going to change this here, you need to change this here. And so that's the one challenge that presents itself when you are designing separately from desktop.
And I know that since DudaCon, we've been diving pretty heavily into the new
2.0.
editor. And like, as far as I understand with, talking with Gil and Adrian, like that's some of the, the background story behind the advanced 2.0 editor is trying to make more of that easily accessible. Like most everything we've built up to this point has been in the classic editor. And that was kind of their solution for, the circumstance that we're talking about is like, if you can't make it work right, hide it and build something else. But that is the biggest pitfall. Like, and I've fallen victim to it for sure.
For sure.
My experience in 2.0, they have vastly improved on how the page differentiates from the breakpoints to tablet and mobile. It adapts very well now, and it's easy to make changes rather than the classic editor. So
that's exciting.
Definitely a huge improvement.
Yeah.
Very happy about it.
I can't wait to see those future sites as you're building an editor. There are some tools that we use. I know we do pre-runs. We check site speed before we ever redevelop them. So very happily, post Duda development, we see much faster websites. But can you talk to me about some of those tools that a user could access in order to test their own website speed?
Page speed insights is a very classic Google tool that talks about this in particular. And literally, you can just drop your URL into a test, and it will give you what's going on as it runs through it and sees how your page loads. It'll give you a desktop, it'll give you a mobile, and then it's going to categorize out what are the core web vitals, all of the different segmented, what it's actually looking for as things are loading. So page speed insights, if you're on Chrome, you can run essentially that same test. It's called Lighthouse, using the inspector tool. But honestly, like those are the two main, when we're talking about page speed, we're trying to see what is it that Google is scoring it as.
Yeah, I love that. What are some tips that either of you would provide anyone watching or even any of our clients on how to consider when developing a new page or a website in desktop? What are some tips and tricks they should keep in mind to keep it mobile friendly as well? Besides, image resizing, what are some of the things you guys think of?
So to me, it's spacing, like visual spacing and digestible sections is really what you're looking for.
And when you say digestible sections, are you just talking about like content?
Yes. Yeah. So what you were saying before is true. Like having awesome imagery and things that are engaging and things like that. But honestly, having enough space, the right amount of space, as people are scrolling, like it's another feature that like the long scroll was feared, I think, in days past, and now it has become the norm. There is a lot of more information on pages, and so being able to just properly space out your content in a way that's kind of pre-digested, that's like it's a header and it's not a lot of text. I mean, all of us know that. Just even when I'm doing research and I'm looking at an article, I'm scanning what are the headers rather than reading every word as I come by it. I'm trying to find the information that I'm looking for in particular. So I'm not necessarily like starting at the top of a page and reading every word until I get to the bottom of it.
Right.
So how do you construct sections that grab your attention, and then either visually or with text, with great headers.
Sure.
Great.
That stand
keyword
out.
Targeted headers.
Yeah, keyword targeted.
That stand out. That like grab your attention. It's like, oh, this is what I'm looking for. And then people will stop, pause, and read more carefully what that is. And then if you've done it right, you also, if there's more information on that, you have a call to action that's either, do you want to know more about this, or is this enough? Are you convinced? That might be a tangent that I'm
but I love that. I mean, despite, having beautiful elements that you've created and just reconstructing them, or just maybe loading just a simple image, is there anything else that you would advise a designer or developer of, or is it pretty much just suck it up, buttercup? You have to reconstruct this section if you want that desktop speed to be faster.
Yeah, it's kind of just a suck it up thing. I mean, you kind of have to play around and see how your section is going to adapt to mobile, and do some different test sections and just see what the best solution is for your site.
So it's a little bit of play per design.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kind of throw a curveball at you guys, like one last curveball here. So where do you think the gap, or the filling in the gap, bridging the gap of when people will need to consider building mobile first, and then desktop second. Do you think we're ever going to reach that point where mobile becomes the number one, I guess, reason to like structure your website in a certain way, and then the desktop just has to be the one that adapts? Do you think we're going to experience that at some point?
I mean, we were just discussing the huge shift that's happening with social and mobile and us living in an age of immediacy. And so I definitely feel like that's where we're headed. And a lot of people will probably only be viewing things on their phone in the future. So yeah, we'll have to see.
How do you feel about that, Matt? Is that going to die with the older generation?
I think that's an interesting conversation. It wasn't all that, a couple of days ago, we were having a conversation about, is SEO dead? It's well, there's still a lot that's happening. So I think it will be a slow roll. I think there's a lot, I think in nuts and bolts. So like the technicalities of mobile versions are condensed versions. So like if you want an expanded version, it's different to go from large to small and be able to pare something down. It's interesting to think about design where you're doing that in the reverse. Well, I only have this much of a viewport to work with. Yeah. But then if I get a bigger viewport, well, what adds to it? What happens? What's hidden already that then expands? I think that's just, it's an interesting concept. You hear like, oh, well, designing mobile first. It's like, that's tough for what I just said. Like designing mobile first means like MVP. Like what is the information that I need to share and how can I make it appealing? But designing in desktop is kind of like the full Monty. It's like, this is everything that we've got. This is everything that we could show, because it has to be able to adapt to, the size of the screen that's behind you.
That's true, because there's still so many ways in which we as humans, which we are the ones using the technology, will use the desktop view. So, I mean, just think about presentations, even at work. We aren't sitting there, we don't have the entire team on their mobile phone viewing this. It's a giant screen. So there's still some consideration, and maybe it will lean a little bit more mobile. Well, I guess we just have to see how the human adjusts to the technology, right? Yeah. So thank you guys for being here. This was a really fun subject to talk about. So we'll see what you do with Editor 2.0, and maybe we'll come back in and we'll talk about the differences in the page speed with Editor 2.0.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching this dojo. If you liked this one, you should check out that one or subscribe.